RINO Senator Ken Yager went down to Georgia looking for a bottle to steal, but instead found DUI charges for being piss drunk, allegedly, and fleeing the scene of an accident. State sued over Protect Tennessee Minors Act requiring age verification for pornography websites. Knox County removes nearly 50 explicit books from the schools. Why are they there to begin with? Probable dreamer teens. Dreamers, they're just dreamers. Suspects in murder of Nashville restaurant owner, foreign national in Tennessee, sentenced to 63 months for $2 million in international wire fraud. Backlash to group trying to organize a Christ-centered Christmas parade, because why would we have a Christ-centered Christmas parade? I have no idea. And it has spurred the gay meddlers to put on a rival holiday gay pride parade. Tennessee State Senator calls for suspension of Judge Bill Anderson from Shelby County Sessions Court bench because he is releasing dangerous people. And Memphis may sue auto manufacturers. Why, you may ask? Because they're just too easy to steal. You can't make this stuff up. Brandon Lewis here with a 10Con Big 7 weekend update. Go to TennesseeConservativeNews.com and hit the subscribe button. We'll send you a newsletter Monday through Friday with a summary on Saturday and all the alerts you need to keep Tennessee good and red instead of purple and then blue, because boy, it can happen. Do follow us on Gab, Getter, Truth, MeWe, and Rumble, especially Twitter, X. Hit the follow button. And you can also subscribe by texting the word news to 423-205-5600. That's 423-205-5600. First story. Old Ken Yager, state senator, went down to Jekyll Island looking to tip a few back and apparently got into a little bit of a jam. Republican Senator Ken Yager, who was just unanimously reelected, harumph, as the chairman of the Senate Republican caucus, was arrested Tuesday by the Georgia Patrol on charges of DUI, hit and run, and failure to stop at a stop sign. Reportedly, troopers were on the lookout for Yager's vehicle, displaying his state-issued legislative plates as they matched those plates in a hit and run on Jekyll Island. Officers spotted Yager's Ford Edge in the parking lot of the Jekyll Market, which I have been to many times, where Yager was already being treated by emergency medical services as he had apparently busted his ass. That's the medical term. Georgia Department of Public Safety officials relayed troopers detected a distinct odor of alcohol in his breath. He admitted he was in a crash earlier, but didn't know the cops were coming. He submitted to a breathalyzer test, refused a blood test, and his field sobriety test, ladies and gentlemen, is a sad state of affairs. He is bumbling, he is stumbling, and he has apparently peed his britches. It is not a good look at all. Per Senate rules, if he's indicted, he has to resign or he can appeal to the Ethics Committee. And I bet they'll stack the Ethics Committee. I bet when he gets back up in Nashville, so, oh, that's a tough break, Ken. We'll get you back in the game. Don't worry about it. We'll take you off your committee for a couple of months. The media storm will blow over. We'll get this stuff kind of swept under the rug, and you'll be back in business. That's what I fully expect to happen. If something different happens, I will be shocked and amazed. Financial records show Yager uses his campaign account to make leased payments on a Ford vehicle, potentially one that is involved in this escapade. Nothing like using campaign contributions to make a murder wagon. While not unheard of for lawmakers to pay for a vehicle to use during campaigns, it is certainly not common practice. I've never seen it done before, to my knowledge. And I've wrote the book, How to Raise Money for Political Office, and in fact, even raised money when Ken Yager first ran for state senate. I'm going to do a breakdown of that and some other things in a separate video on this topic later. But boy, whoo, you can't make this stuff up. Fact is stranger than fiction. State sued over trying to keep kids from looking at pornography. Can you believe it? The Protect Tennessee Minors Act was signed in June by Governor Bill Lee and is now being challenged as unconstitutional by the Free Speech Coalition. Here's what this story is about. The pornography industry is very large. It is billions of dollars. If I'm not mistaken, it is larger than the gambling industry. This is not a free speech coalition. This is a porno industry conglomerate that goes around threatening lawfare for folks that want to protect kids for a very simple reason. They understand that if kids get involved in pornography early, there's a good chance they will continue to do it as they go through adulthood. Money is on the line for these corrupting corporations. They want as many dollars and as many eyeballs towards ads and this, that, and the other as they can possibly get. And so they drive traffic from the youth audience. And these types of corporations are not fools. They may be evil, but they're not fools. And they have the data that shows, hey, this is where we get our earliest adopters. And if we can just get them young, we can keep them old forever. And if they stop them young, that's going to stop a lot of them from using it when they're older. And this is going to cost us money. And that's a big deal. And that's the ultimate point of all this, right? And no matter how many people get hurt in the process. And so that's the issue. Similar laws have been passed in Indiana, Louisiana, Montana, Texas, and Utah. And this same group has vowed to sue any state that tries to protect kids. So 19 other states have already passed similar laws. 7 are considering it. And Tennessee stands alone in that violators may be charged with a felony. That is a good thing. That is a good thing. Knox County removes nearly 50 explicit titles from school libraries. The Knox County Board of Education sent a list in on Tuesday that the school districts instructing them to remove close to 50 books from their libraries as not being age appropriate. Back in July, the district's Board of Education adopted a policy that would remove students' access to explicit books in light of new state laws being passed. This is something Moms for Liberty has been working on diligently. Most of these counties where you see this happening, there is a strong either Moms for Liberty chapter or there is a strong conservative group of primarily ladies and a few men that are like, I want this garbage out of the schools, which begs the question, why in the hell was it in there in the first place? This is a safe place for kids, or so it should be, but government education in Tennessee has become so corrupt that they have to pass these goofy laws. And then parents have to stand up and harangue their school officials and twist themselves into pretzels just to get them to comply. I think the government schools are beyond redemption. That is my personal opinion. We know that Wilson County removed 400, Montgomery County 150. These probably are in your schools if you don't have some advocacy group going after these titles. So maybe you should do it. I got enough on my plate. Next story. Guys, we're in the middle of our annual fund campaign for the love of God and all things holy. If you're in that 93% of subscribers that do not give, pray about it. You can't expect Tennessee to continue to move in a conservative direction if you sit on the sideline with your wallet. It is the biggest reason conservative candidates and organizations fail to reach their potential and often fail to even achieve any goals or anything meaningful, is because though we consume lots of conservative media and we shake our heads and say, yes, I agree, we don't take the actions that the left-leaning corporations and the Democrats take to support their candidates and organizations. If you want to give a Christmas gift this year, give it to the Tennessee Conservative cause. We need it. We're going to use that money this year. If we raise enough to send a reporter to Nashville for the first time ever who has a conservative perspective looking out for you, could you imagine? We're going to go after more conservative subscribers in Tennessee so that we can wake them up to what's going on and get them involved so that we can turn our Republican Party from a corporately owned party back to a grand old party as it should be. But we can't do it without you. Go to TennesseeConservativeNews.com/support or hit the donate button on our homepage. Further, you can mail your checks to P.O. Box 625, Signal Mountain, Tennessee 37377. And if you go on the website and hit the donate button, if you miss the address, it will be down at the bottom. Please do mail your checks there. Mail your Christmas cards, mail your notes. I've already got cards coming in. I'm going to read the mailbag next week because I didn't put it together properly before the broadcast. Thanks to all of you who send that in. I had some great conversations with donors. Thank you calls. I got behind on my thank you calls. And so when I was driving to Alabama for Thanksgiving, I had a great Thanksgiving. I'll talk to you about it at the end of the program. I was just picking up the phone and saying, hey, I appreciate you. Left a lot of messages, talked to a few people, and if it weren't for you, I still wouldn't be doing this. That is an absolute fact. So thank you to all of you who support us financially. You are the only reason we are still here. And if you want us to grow and continue, if you're in that 93% that are sitting on the sidelines, come off the bench, baby. It's time to get in the game. Next story. Probable dreamer teens. They're just dreamers. I don't know whoever gave these people the name dreamers, but it was pretty slick. They don't call them the murderers. That'd be terrible. The dreamers. Teen suspects in murder of Nashville restaurant owner. On November 28th, homicide detectives arrested and charged 2 young people with the Sunday night murder of Nashville resident owners in the parking lot of a shopping complex. He's got a twin brother, Emilio. They're charged with criminal homicide and 3 counts, each of attempted criminal homicide. One of them is still at large. If you know who he is, I doubt that any of you do, but if you do, call 615-742-7463. That's the Nashville Crime Stoppers line. The investigation shows that the restaurant owner, imagine being a restaurant owner, right? Hot stuffed chicken. You're just pulling away, probably have worked your freaking keister off trying to reach the American dream. You put all your money, sweat, and tears into this restaurant. I know what it's like to work a restaurant. I've worked in restaurants. I've got friends that are in the restaurant business and have been for years. It is a tough job. It is high risk. It is low margin, very difficult, long hours. You're just leaving, and a couple of illegal immigrants get in a crossfire fight with some other people with some AR-15s and murder you. That's real nice. If we had preventative legislation where we cut off the employment, the benefits, and the welfare magnets, the free education, and everything else we have in Tennessee that RINOs have allowed to happen for the last 4 years, this kind of crap would happen a lot less frequently. The restaurant owner, who was not involved in dispute whatever, was shot in the head. The brother's facing 3 counts of attempted criminal homicide related to this incident. Jeez Louise. All right, next story, guys. Foreign national in Tennessee sentenced to 63 months for $2 million in international wire fraud conspiracy. On November 2016, Bandy, a gentleman named Bandy of Ghana, was sentenced to 63 months by a U.S. district judge in Knoxville. Why? Following his incarceration, Bandy will be supervised release for 3 years. Bandy was also ordered to repay $2.18 million in restitution to 11 victims in the case. I assume that will never happen. Bandy, along with other members of this conspiracy, assumed false identities on social media, dating websites, etc. Essentially, what they do in many cases is they pose as potential romantic interests for very lonely elderly people. I have had a relative that has fallen prey to this. In fact, when I was eating dinner with my friend Tommy and his wife Ashley at a beautiful restaurant in Lake Guntersville called the Rock House, I highly recommend it. I talk to people everywhere I go, and I couldn't help but overhear some people talking about somebody being catfished for a lot of money right behind me, and I turned around and said, you know what, that happened to somebody I know real well, and here's what happened. Well, this is what happened to me. So apparently this happens everywhere. And so once the victim is clearly engaged in the scam, the scammer starts asking for emergency money. My son needs a leg operation. I need a heart operation. I'm over here in Bangladesh. Honey, I can't wait to see you. Just send $100,000, $3,500, and then they escalate it. And then when the money starts coming in, they keep pumping it up, and when the money stops coming in, they go away. And so, for example, one victim who resided in eastern Tennessee lost over $280,000 in the scheme over several months. This is sad. Sad state of affairs. Next story, backlash to group trying to organize Christ-centered Christmas parade, because why in the world would a Christmas parade have anything to do with Christ? Because that's the whole purpose of Christmas. And so that spurred an activist group to put on a rival holiday gay pride parade. In years past, the annual parade has been hosted by the Cookeville Putnam County Chamber of Commerce, but the group backed out this year due to controversy surrounding the Pride float that was disallowed in 2023. Last year's parade committee took a last-minute vote on whether to include the Upper Cumberland Pride in the parade over concerns the group's appearance might not be family friendly, and it certainly wouldn't have been. This year, the chamber handed off the event's organization to local churches. Good for them. River Community Church of Cookeville and Life Church, and an effort to have a parade with Jesus as the focus in 2024. The two churches and Blue Waters Rentals formed the Cookeville Christian Christmas Parade LLC and announced the theme as celebrating the light of Christmas with Christ, capitalized. Because the group was underwriting the parade, their application included a statement of faith, which sparked backlash from progressive members of the community. The statement of faith that parade participants were asked to initial after reading included the core tenets of Christianity, God's design for families, etc. In response, Cookeville Inclusive began raising funds to have their own parade. They called it the Tiny Cloak, organizing donations through GoFundMe. This is a good one. WCTE, the PBS station for Central Tennessee, also balked at the Christ-centered parade and refused to broadcast it. We need to quit giving these quote-unquote public broadcasters any damned money. Let them survive on their own. The Cookeville City Council then decided to take the responsibility of the parade for the greater benefit of the community. Since then, WCTE PBS said they will broadcast the parade now that the city is in charge, because it's not a church. Scumbags. Shut the place down. That's what I say. Next story. Tennessee State Senator calls for suspension of Judge Bill Anderson from Shelby County Sessions Court bench. A state senator, this is Brent Taylor, has been on the warpath because Memphis is a hot mess of corruption and crime, as we all know. Everybody knows that Memphis is the armpit of Tennessee. We have tried to give it to other neighboring states. They will not accept it. I can say that as someone living in the East Tennessee hills. I'm sure there are very nice people in Memphis. I know a bunch of them. A bunch of them support and read our publication, but they are not happy with the crime in downtown Memphis and the surrounding areas. So there are high levels of crime, and one big reason there are high levels of crime is, Brent Taylor points out, is because these judges, these liberal Democrat judges, keep releasing these very violent people. Senator Brent Taylor wants Judge Anderson to use a standard recently codified by the General Assembly that requires judges to first consider, quote, safety of the community when setting the amount of the bail. When Anderson was interviewed by a local media news outlet, he pushed back, stating that, quote, you can't consider the facts of that open case to decide public safety to the community. Apparently, Judge Anderson did not get the memo. Senator Taylor is not the only legislator barking up Anderson's tree. Speaker of the House, Tennessee, Representative Cameron Sexton referred to Anderson as, quote, softer than Jell-O on criminals because Judge Anderson's defiance. Senator Taylor is now asking the Tennessee Board of Judicial Conduct to suspend Judge Anderson from the bench until this can be properly investigated. So this isn't the first time he's been called out for these shenanigans. We're going to see what happens. Last story, guys. Memphis may sue auto manufacturers for making cars just too easy to steal. The only time you have to worry about your car being stolen is when the crime is through the roof. The Memphis City Council approved a resolution on Tuesday that could lead to the city filing lawsuits against car manufacturers of Hyundai and Kia due to expenses associated with a, quote, epidemic of vehicle thefts. The resolution was part of a package of extraordinary litigation that the council is considering. The resolution also gives the city the authorization to include, quote, any other manufacturers of vehicles contributing to the epidemic of vehicle thefts in future lawsuits. This reminds me, it's like these Democrats are soft on crime. They release criminals. They don't police their streets. They put up with urban decay, paneling, trash, drugs, homeless encampments, and of course it draws crime, you know, like a pile of poop draws flies in the summer in a cow pasture. Like it is, that's what's causing it. And instead of trying to fix the fact that they have a lot of criminals, they want to blame the guns. So now they're like, well, you know what? If that worked, let's just try it this way. Let's blame the cars. We'll blame the car makers. That's why there's an epidemic, because the cars are too easy to break in. I tell you what, these people must be bumbling idiots. You can get a quorum of people to pass something like this. I bet you couldn't find a handful of brain cells to rub together in that room. Both Hyundai and Kia took responsibility for the issues and offered to provide free software updates as well as steering wheel locks to customers who had been affected. Kia noted that 1.27 million vehicles across the county had already been updated, including many in Memphis. Excuse me. According to the proposal, police data shows that more than 22,000 vehicles have been reported as stolen in the last 2 years. Hyundai and Kia are the ones among the most targeted. The city plans to hire a special attorney to handle the cases if their resolution moves forward. In a statement regarding potential lawsuits, Kia said lawsuits filed by municipalities against them are without merit. I got a different idea to propose here to the Memphis City Council, the geniuses that they are, because they're doing such a great job running their city, right? That's why the city has such a fantastic reputation, because they're doing such a good job. Kia and Hyundai are what? I believe they are the cheapest car manufacturers out there. Like if you want to buy a new car at the cheapest possible price, it's a Kia or a Hyundai, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure. I'm sure they have some higher end models, but I'm almost positive it's the lowest level on the price point for auto manufacturers. Well, if you've got a lot of poverty in a city center, what kind of cars are people going to buy? The cheapest ones. So it may not be necessarily, I'm just throwing that out there, that it's Kia or that it's Hyundai. It may be the fact that that's the kind of cars people in these urban areas buy, and therefore these are the ones being stolen. That's my suggestion. Look into it, Memphis City Council. Have another meeting. See if maybe you can get to the bottom of this. If you can just make these cars really hard to steal, all the crime's going to go away, right? Next thing you know, they're going to be passing resolutions to encase them all in metal. People are going to have to drive a Batmobile with electroshock on it or be fined by the city. Tennessee city government. In a related story, apparently the Veterans Affairs Office in Tennessee, although it's a federal institution, was caught having a taxpayer-funded orgy. A taxpayer-funded orgy on the clock, no less, with huge email communications with one of the fellows in leaderships bragging that he had slept with like 30 some odd of his coworkers. No, there's no corruption in government. Conspiracy theorists, they're the only ones that say that. Crazy. What a crazy week in news. Isn't really that crazy. It's just like, here's the sad state of our Tennessee state government. Here's the sad state of our federal government. Someone please come in to clean this stuff up. And I hope Trump will do a lot of it on the federal level. We just got to make sure we get a governor at the state level that will do it, because Bill Lee's been at the helm, will have been by the time he's out, 8 years, and his record's been terrible. So hopefully it gets better. So what did I do for Thanksgiving? What'd you do? Did you have a good time at Thanksgiving? We went down to Cartersville with my wife's family and had a great time. And then I spent 2 days, 2.5 days in Alabama. I visited my best friend, Tommy, Dr. Garrett. We hiked down to the creek, visited my good friend, Corey, and just had a good time. Had a good breakfast with my family. Hung out with them. So it was just a good fun time going back to Alabama, but I was happy to be back in Tennessee. What's going on this weekend? Tomorrow, we're having a shindig at Casa de Lewis. So I've got a honey-do list and lots of stuff to do in addition to my regular duties at both of my companies. So I am behind. I'm actually recording the Big 7 a day early at like 7 o'clock at night because it's the only time I could fit it in. And so we got a lot on the calendar. I don't know what we're going to do after that. I know we'll probably go to church on Saturday night, but other than that, I hope it's just a very easy weekend where I don't have a lot to do. We'll probably have a mess to clean up, as is usually the case after you have about 40 or 50 people at your house. And so you got to clean it up before the people come over, and you got to clean it up after they leave. That's how it goes. But it's well worth it, right? One of the many talents that it says in scriptures that people can be given is the gift of hospitality. And I fall short in many, many categories of Christian virtue, but hospitality is something I've always tried to display and give to folks. And it makes me happy to do it. And it makes my wife happy to do it. I'm lucky to be married to a woman who is as hospitable a homemaker as I am an entertaining jokester with folks. So guys, I'm looking forward to Christmas. We are excited at the Lewis family household. We got 2 trees up this year. We went back to the traditional tree, thank goodness, in the formal living room with the big colored bulbs and the small colored bulbs on the green tree, which is what I prefer. That is what creates the most nostalgic effect for Brandon Lewis. We've got a beautiful white on white tree in the formal that is decorated very elegantly, okay? Very elegantly, but it doesn't make me want to sit in the corner and drink my eggnog and go, wow, that's a cool tree, like the other one does. So that's what's going on in my world. And just want to say again, I appreciate everyone that was on the vision casting meeting that we had the other night. We had a good crowd, like about 80 people showed up. That's a pretty good crowd for us. And of course, we've got far more donors than that. And I sent out a replay to everyone. If you have ever given, hopefully that's in your email box. You can see the goals that we have for 2025, the legislative issues that we're going to be covering. But I would just again encourage you, please don't make me come to your house and beg. I'll do it if I have to. But we need help. We've got to increase our donor participation level relative to the subscribers we have, even if it's just a super small amount. Please do give. And if you can give any kind of recurring amount, I don't care if it's $5, it adds up and it allows us to plan. It is so difficult to plan what we're going to do here at the Tennessee Conservative when I'm like, who knows how much money is going to come in this month? We have to save every penny and hope nothing goes wrong. And that's just not a way to run any organization or business. It's not how I run my business that makes money. It has strong recurring revenue. I know exactly what it's going to be like month after month. If it goes down, I can get it back up. It's something I know how to manage, but it's much more difficult at the Tennessee Conservative. And it's why, as I constantly state, we don't have any conservative media outlets other than me. And if I didn't work for free, we wouldn't have this one. So please chip in. Everybody does their part. We can go a long way in Tennessee. I promise you. Guys, Merry Christmas. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. It's Brandon Lewis, your friend, the watchman on the wall here at the Tennessee Conservative, signing off. See you next time.